virei o programa.
And welcome back, everybody, to the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, Ben Newman. Now, guys, this week we're going back to my alma mater, Bradley University, to talk to one of their star volleyball players on the team. She is in the middle of her senior season and definitely has one of the best names we've had on this podcast so far. Please welcome my special guest, Serena Sparks. Serena, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to have you on. So, just to start things off, Serena, both individually and as a team, how do you think the season has gone so far?
So far, our record would probably say that's not going so well. But we go into the gym every day and work really hard, and our team chemistry is there, and new coach, new teams in the valley. It's a lot to adjust to. So we're still trying to, figure things out, but we've been talking a lot about just trust the process. So we're gonna get there.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, like you just mentioned, new coach. Murray State just joined the conference. So definitely a lot of changes. So I can definitely understand the struggle there. But, diving a little deeper into that, like you just mentioned, rough start to the season. But what would you say are some of the highs and lows of the season so far?
I think the highs are just competing with my teammates. They're my teammates, but they're also my best friends and my sisters. And it's fun anytime you get to step onto the court with them because it's, again, it's just fun, honestly. We really go hard for each other. And I think that's what really keeps us going during this hard time. So that's definitely a high.
Moving on from that, Serena, when did you start playing volleyball?
Oh gosh. So I started playing probably when I was 9 or 10. My sister, my older sister, she's 4 years older, she played volleyball and I always wanted to be just like her. So I started playing volleyball and then it just kept going from there.
Going off of that, you were born in Kansas City, Missouri. So, you just mentioned playing it with your sister, but how do you think your childhood really played into your love of volleyball?
So my dad, my mom's a twin, and her sister and her husband played in a league while I was growing up. And so every Friday, I remember we would go and watch them. And so volleyball was just kind of always a part of my childhood as far as I can remember. And so again, I wanted to be just like them in that culture of competing, and everything's a competition in our family. And so I'm I'm going to be better at it than them. So that's kind of what led me to where I am now.
Is it just you and your sister, or are there other siblings that you were trying to compete with?
Just my sister and I. So, yeah.
Now, while you were living in Kansas City, you were a little bit of a stud on your high school team. Being varsity all 4 years. Can you talk a little bit about your high school career?
Yeah, so I went to Bishop E.H. High School, and the volleyball program there is one of the best in Kansas. I wanted to go there for volleyball because the culture there is just top notch. So we won state my freshman and senior year. And if you didn't win state, it was what are you guys doing? A lot of high schools celebrate going to state, but that was expected out of us. Not just going, but winning state. So that definitely, I think, prepared me too for college of just having that winning culture. But yeah, I have a lot of love for the Bishop Age volleyball programs. So go Stags.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually just partially answered two of my other questions, but like you just mentioned, you and the team were able to win those two titles, freshman and senior seasons. So kind of talk about that success a little bit deeper that you're able to find in your high school program.
Yeah, so my freshman year, we had a coach, Gwen Pike, and she was a Kansas legend. I played with her in club too. So I knew her going into high school. And so she knew how to push my buttons and make me better, and, knew what I was good at, but knew what I needed to work on. And at that, again, the volleyball program at my age was such a high, there was such a high standard that a lot of girls went to play at Division 1 volleyball. I think my freshman year, there were two studs that went and played at West Point and at Ole Miss. And then if we didn't have there wasn't a year that we didn't have someone going to play at a Division 1 level. So it goes to show you the standard that, we had at our program in high school.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like an amazing program, and your high school resume as well was quite impressive. It kind of speaks for yourself in a way, but kind of diving a little bit deeper again to what you mentioned earlier. In your opinion, how did playing in this high school program really help prepare you for the collegiate level?
Yeah, it showed me that it takes a lot of hard work to win and that winning doesn't come easily. And, sometimes I look back at it and I'm like, wow, my high school workouts are 10 times harder than like what I've done it in college. I mean, you would have thought we were on the track team because we ran so much. But again, that just prepared me for this because it was so hard in high school that when I got to college, I'm like, I can do hard things because my coaches and my teammates at my age really prepared me and kind of made me mentally tougher.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that sounds like definitely an extensive program for sure. I'm kind of surprised about the running, honestly. I mean, volleyball is definitely not seen as necessarily a up and down sprinting kind of sport, but I guess you gotta get that stamina up, right?
I guess so.
Now, going off of that, like we just mentioned, you did grow up in Kansas City. So, what made you choose to go to Bradley University over maybe other potential schools?
So I wanted to study nursing, and it's a very time consuming major and a difficult one. And so I wanted a school that I would be able to do both. And Bradley is what kind of gave me that opportunity. And also, when I got here, the girls just, again, they made it feel like they had a family here. And I have such a close family at home that I wanted to go somewhere that I could feel that family oriented culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree. Kind of feeling at home when picking a college is definitely very important. Because I came from Michigan. I only knew one person going to Bradley, and even with that, I still kind of felt home when I was there. So I definitely understand that. Going off of that, at Bradley, you do play two different positions, both libero and defensive specialist. So for those who don't know a lot about volleyball, haven't really played it, can you kind of explain those two positions and kind of what I guess differentiates them from each other?
Yeah. So the libero is the person in the different colored jersey. Um, Liberos can come in and out as not as you please, but like they don't count as a substitution. So instead of I don't go in the front row also. I only play in the back row. You don't want to see me in the front row, trust me. um, and you usually play for 6 rotations, but a DS, they have the normal color jersey on as everyone else, and they have to sub. So they do count as a substitution, and they usually only play 3 rotations.
Is there one of those two positions that you say you enjoy playing more over the other, or at least one that you would say is your best one?
I enjoy playing libero more because obviously you're on the court more, and at that I think like having a sense of competitiveness and just wanting to win every point. So being out there for almost every point is just exciting for me too. And to be able to consistently help my teammates being in as much as I am is also why I really love it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like libero is kind of almost seen as kind of the leader of that group when you're on the court. I mean, the jersey speaks for itself. You are definitely the one position that really stands out on a volleyball court just because of the different jersey that you're wearing. But that kind of brings me to my next question because I've always been curious about that. Because when you are playing libero, like you just mentioned, you do wear a different color jersey. So why is that?
If I'm being honest, I have no idea why that is. Yeah, I really don't know. I think it would maybe be because it doesn't count as a substitution, so it's easier to track. I wish I can answer that question, but I have no idea.
Yeah, no, that's good. I was just always been curious about that. Serena, at least as far as volleyball standards, you are pretty short to be playing volleyball. I mean, you're standing around 5'2". Can you talk about kind of the challenges that you may have faced when playing the sport at your height? And on the flip side, how have you kind of turned that height disadvantage into something positive when playing?
Yeah, so I think it honestly fuels me when people say she's so small. Like it just makes me say, well, I'm small, but I can prove you wrong. And I've always told myself like it's not, or my coach one time told me it's not the size of the dog, but
It's the dog in the fight.
yeah, that saying.
Yeah.
And so um that's really, really cheesy, I know, but it really does fuel me. And I think I've turned my size into something positive by just being really quick and especially in my position, just being able to read hitters better and setting myself up well with my eyes to just be in a better position to dig balls and to help my team be successful.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely understand that for sure. I mean, I'm only 5'6", so throughout my entire life in my sporting career, I've always been seen as kind of like an underdog. He's too short, you can't do that. So definitely understand where you're coming from there. But kind of going off of that, you certainly never let your height stop you from being successful in the sport. I mean, you currently lead the Braves in total digs, and you also are seventh in the Missouri Valley in digs per set. So, digs seem fairly difficult to pull off, but this is also coming from a guy who's never really played volleyball. So, what makes, I guess, digs kind of one of the best parts of your game?
Yeah, I think especially at Bradley, we've talked a lot about just having a ball up mentality. And, it may not look pretty sometimes, but just getting under the ball, getting a hand on it or something just to keep the ball alive. Um, Myself as well as my team has really took pride in that and made that kind of the identity of our defense. And so, sometimes we do struggle, but at the end of the day, we just tell each other ball up, ball up. I mean, I probably say it a million times during a game. And my teammates are probably like, shut up, Serena. But, you know, it's just, again, that ball up mentality that really plays a role in our team during a game.
Yeah, for sure. A couple weeks ago, we did have another volleyball player on, but she was a middle hitter. So, you have a very important role on a volleyball court, but your position kind of requires, I guess, a more kind of technical type of play. So, explain the different facets of your position, setting up for assists, digging, things like that, and how you become so accustomed to doing those types of things at such a high level.
Yeah, I think it goes back to when we talked about earlier in high school, is just having so many reps and just doing it so many times that it almost feels natural. And like sometimes I'm like, how did I even do that? I don't even know. Like you've just done it so many times that it becomes a lot easier.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but volleyball is very much a team sport. You and your teammates really have to be in sync to, kind of have that match run smoothly. So, talk about the chemistry that you've been able to build over your career at Bradley and why you think that chemistry is so important.
Yeah, my teammates definitely keep me going and are the reason as to why I'm still playing volleyball. I'm still here at Bradley. And again, they're my sisters, they're my best friends. And whether they like it or not, we spend a lot of time together. And so we get each other through the highs and lows. And honestly, without them, I would be maybe not still Bradley, honestly, but they make everything worth it. And when I step on that court, I step on the court for my teammates. And whenever I'm trying to get something done, I'm trying to get it done for the person next to me. So just they really keep me going. We keep each other going. So we wouldn't be here without each other.
Now, moving on from that, Serena, music can be something that's very important to an athlete to kind of, get them in the zone, ready to play. And volleyball, much like baseball, kind of takes it a step further where, when you're on that court and you're actually ready to serve, you actually do have your own serving song. So, I guess a two-part question, but one, what is your serving song? And two, what kind of music do you listen to kind of get into that playing mentality?
So my serving song this year is "The Way I Live." I don't remember who it's by, but yeah, that song gets me hype. And see, before every game, I'm like every week I'm on a different genre of music. It's never the same. But this week I have been on a Tupac kick for whatever reason. I don't know. So this week it's definitely been some like hip hop rap.
Okay, very cool. What goes through your head when you are in a match?
So during a match, I'm constantly thinking about what, you know, looking back at our scouting report and who's up in the front row and what my role is when that person is up. So that's one thing that's going through my head. Another thing that's going through my head is, what does my teammate next to me need? How can I fuel her? What do I need to do to help her? Um, how can I get my setter a good pass so that my hitters can put the ball down? Constantly, I try and constantly think about my teammates because it's so easy to get into your head. Volleyball's such a mental sport. And so if I put my focus on the person next to me, then it just really helps me play better. So that's kind of what goes through my head.
Serena, we mentioned this a few times before, with the chemistry with your team, how kind of at home you feel at Bradley, but going a little bit in a different route, what I've always loved about Bradley is, because it's so small, there is that extra sense of community when going there, when you're walking to and from class, you'll see these different people and, you might not know them, but you can at least recognize them. So I guess from an athlete's perspective, how would you say is your relationship with the other athletes on campus?
Yeah, I love Bradley for that reason, is because we are smaller and so you get to make better relationships with people. And it's funny that you said this because I was talking to just a random soccer player in the study room today and we were just talking about this, how it's so awesome that you can make those connections and you can make deeper friendships because Bradley is so small. And I went to a small high school, I went to a small grade school, and so I just felt like that's why I wanted to come to Bradley also, was because you get that deeper connection and you can genuinely leave a mark here when you leave too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you just mentioned, you really can leave a mark. I mean, whether that be in the classroom, meeting friends and actually being able to talk with your professors in person and not be in, 200 study hall class, whatever.
Exactly.
Going off of that, this season, you mentioned it earlier, but you did get a new coach in Alicia Williams, who replaced Coach Price Torok after 7 seasons. How has Coach Williams and this kind of new system of Bradley Volleyball been so far, in your opinion?
It's been a good change. It's also been difficult because for us seniors, you have 3 years of familiar things, and then to come in and kind of get a new sense of things, it's been difficult, but it's also been really refreshing. So I think for us, especially my senior class, it's just how can we leave our mark here to where they can build in the future off, the new things that Alicia brings in. And it's been a lot of positivity. And, again, our record may not show with, wins and losses, but culture wise, it's been really positive and, it's brought a new vibe to our team and we love it.
Kind of digging a little bit deeper into that as well, I have a firm belief that a team and an athlete are only as good as their coaches allow them to be. So, in your opinion, how has both Coach Bryce Torok and Coach Williams really helped you in your development as a volleyball player?
Carol really brought us together as a team. She built that culture of, we are a family, which Alicia has been able to build off of, and we've been able to carry that on. But she also was expected. Carol also expected a lot out of us, which was a blessing in disguise because we were mentally tough. We were physically tough on the court. So she left a lot of good things here at Bradley, and Alicia brings a lot of new good things too also. And so they both go hand in hand. They're both great coaches. They're both, have developed each of us in different ways. But yeah, we're super grateful for what Carol left behind, and we're super grateful for the new things that Alicia has brought to Bradley Volleyball.
I mean, obviously, I remember seeing Coach Price Torek, filming for Braves Vision, or just I remember doing a documentary about different athletes on campus. But watching that you guys practice with Coach Price Torek, she definitely held you to a high standard because those practices did not seem easy.
Yeah.
I feel like this topic is very important, especially in our day and age. But it's no secret that men's sports definitely gets more viewership than women's. So, in your opinion, what do women's athletics really bring to the table to kind of make it an entertaining experience for fans that really should come to the games.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of spotlight women's sports, especially during these times. But for us, our volleyball team, I think we just bring energy, honestly. I think that we're really fun to watch. And I also think it's awesome that women's basketball always comes and supports us at our games. And so, we try and do the same for them when they're in season. And just women supporting women is awesome. And, we're going to be women's basketball's number one fans, just like they've been our number one fans this season so far. And so I think it's just important to kind of support each other and lift each other up because, again, we don't get as much spotlight or recognition as the men's team, but that also fuels us to be like, we're going to win so that we can. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, also going off of that, what kind of steps, I guess, do you think kind of need to be taken to make that progression in the viewership?
Yeah, I think it's important to just talk about women's sports more. I think it's been awesome that women's volleyball has been broadcasted on ESPN, the regular channel. I think those are great steps for progress and just fueling off of that and, you know, advertising women's sports more, putting them back on ESPN more is just steps in the right direction.
Serena, moving on from that, we mentioned this before, but this is your senior year at Bradley. Obviously, still pretty early into the school year, but any future plans that you might have after graduation?
Oh man. um, as of right now, I am gonna go back to Kansas City and I'm a nursing major, so I'm gonna take the NCLEX and hopefully work at home for a couple of years. And then I think that I want to do travel nursing for a couple of years. And then after that, who knows? We'll see.
Fair enough. Do you mean like traveling to different states or traveling kind of across the country? Or different countries, I mean.
I think for now, probably just traveling across the United States. We'll see where that takes me. And my sister lives in Cincinnati, so I told her that my first contract is going to be in Cincinnati and I'm going to live with her and I'm not paying her for rent or anything. So,
Sounds like a good deal.
exactly.
What are you looking forward to the most for the rest of this season?
I'm looking forward to just having fun with my teammates, just going out there each game and competing with them and creating memories. And I've said this before, but I'm going to remember the wins and losses that we had, but I'm going to remember the memories that I made with my teammates in the locker room, off the court, in the study room, way more than I'm going to remember how many points we won or lost by. So I'm just excited to spend my last year having fun with them.
Now, finally, Serena, just to kind of wrap things up, your volleyball career is slowly coming to an end. Like we mentioned in the very beginning, a little bit of a rough start to the season, but still plenty of time to turn things around. So, what do you want to accomplish before your time as a volleyball athlete comes up?
Obviously, I want to win the Missouri Valley Conference. That's something that, would just be the cherry on top of my career, honestly. And that would just be the perfect end to it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Serena, thank you so much for coming on to this podcast today. I really appreciate it. And I'm always, going to be a happy Bradley alumni. So I'm excited to see what you guys in the Braves can do for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, of course. Well, that's going to wrap things up for us today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the BaseLINE podcast. Thank you so much to Serena Sparks for coming on and talk about her volleyball career. I am a big Bradley alum, so I cannot wait to see how that volleyball team can do for the rest of the season. If you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe as it really helps support me and this podcast. And if this was your first time ever watching the BaseLINE podcast, make sure to subscribe and check out my other videos. As always, if you enjoyed the music for this episode, check out Hidden Harmony. Link for them will be in the description below. And with all that being said, guys, thank you so much again for tuning into this episode of the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, BaseLINE Newman, and we'll catch you guys next time.